WW3 update. And I'm going to put my camera somewhere. Anyway, check out my hat. There we go. Alright. I'm going to start here. Holy crap. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. About a day or so after the attack here in Quebec, so shaker so you can see the camera. There was an attack in France on a French soldier, a guy basically machete-wielded maniac. I think they shot him dead. That was in front of the Louvre. So there was that. And I still don't know all the story. The story seemed to have went away of the shooting. Like, for what has happened in Quebec here, it's gone. Like, the story's gone. It's a non-story now. Technically, you've had the mass killing of Muslims, the most in Canadian history, in a single spot, and they're not running it into the ground. So there's something weird about the way this thing was covered, and I have a hunch why they're not covering to the fullest is because if it was what they say it is, like it was a nationalist hit, so to speak, they don't want to encourage others to do it. And although it's in the closet, kind of, so to speak, there's a rumblings of nationalism rising in Canada. Mainstream media doesn't want to touch it. They don't want to draw attention to it at all. Trudeau is worried about this. I remember he said something that we haven't had the anti-globalism, that didn't hit us yet. and trying to pass it off as people really don't want that, but they don't. They really don't. And I guess they're trying to let sleeping dogs lie, but I don't think it's going to work in the long run. But anyway, but until I get again, the police haven't said what the motive was yet. So until they say what the motive is, then I don't want to comment on it. I don't care if it takes a month. I'm not going to comment on it until I know more. 49 to 41% are in favor of Trump's ban. Now, polls again being notorious unreliable, whether they're for or something, forget something. But apparently with this poll, I forget who conducted it, but they oversampled again, even like Democrats. They always oversampled the Democrats to get them to go to the leftists, and even at that, it still came out in favor of the travel ban. So what's the real number? Who knows? Utah is basically going to be taking gold and silver and making it a legal currency. So it looks like Utah is getting prepared for something that might be coming down the pipe. New sanctions on Iran. Trump's added a little caveat. I'm not going to be kind like Obama was, or Obama was kind but not like me, or something like that. It was something paraphrasing here, but so the Iran again. My worry with Trump is that the whole Trump win was about Israel getting just a different way to attack Iran. I hope that's not the case. I don't know. I don't know. But considering who's surrounding Trump, it's all pretty much the Zionist core, Steins and Bergs. I mean, you can't ignore it. So there is a risk of that they might try to, or maybe he's doing it willingly, who knows. But if he's going to do a deal with Iran, do a deal with Iran. That's fine. You want to be tough on it, be tough on it. But to take us to another war, well, it's just, okay, new boss, same as the old boss. Because Iran was supposed to be taken out by Israel after the United States took out Syria. And right now, Syria, technically, I mean, it's in rules. The Syrian army won't be able to take out Israel anytime soon. They're in shambles right now. That said, if, with the help of Iran, if the United States can get into a war with Iran now, then it's mission accomplished on taking out all the 7 countries or 5 countries in 7 years, or 7 countries in 5 years, whatever it was Rumsfeld said. So as of now, we're still, everything is still, nothing is reversed. Now, mind you, Trump is less than a month in his presidency, so, well, we can't expect, he's moving faster than lightning, grease lightning. He's moving faster than grease lightning that just took a bottle of X-Lax. He's moving that fast, So we can't say, oh, well, he's failed. He's only a month in, And even the 100 days in office, okay, well, 100 days, that's not enough to undo 8 years of extreme damage and another 8 years before that of damage. You're talking 16 years of extreme damage done to the United States through Bush's and Obama's, and then, of course, with Clinton's. and if you really add it up, it's about 70 years, basically since World War II, of basically that narrative that was been put in heavily after World War II. The Cultural Revolution and all that, all the Kissinger stuff, and that's going to take time to undo. You're not going to undo that overnight. You're not going to undo that without a bloody nose. So, but we can only judge Trump on his actions. Again, I'm still neutral on Trump. I still am. I think he wants to be a good guy, but it really will depend on the system. However, the system, one thing Trump is doing is anybody that goes against him, he's calling them out, which is the right thing to do. But with the stuff he's privy to, now mind you, maybe he's going to reveal stuff over time. You get a bit of a mixed bag because, like, when it comes to the Israel thing, that's the key. Like, every country in the world needs to tell Israel, go your own way. We're not going to defend you anymore. Play well in the sandbox with others. If you want to defend yourself, that's fine. But this idea of constantly going into preemptive wars for Israel, that's not a good idea. Now, one thing, and I'll get to it later, is the regime change angle. That does seem to be changing, and that's a good thing. But we'll have to wait and see. U.S. destroyer off the coast of Yemen, and I think the Yemen is one of those things that I think Trump is looking at Yemen kind of as secondary to Iran. He hasn't really said his stance on it 100%, but because if they come out against Yemen, that really looks, okay, well, we're going to do whatever the Saudis want us to do. But there's still weapons going to the Saudis. There's still all that stuff. I think if anything, what they're getting out of the Saudis is, okay, how do we need to upgrade our tanks? And it looks like the Abrams M1A2 tanks are getting new armor plating. They're going to need it. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in the previous Abrams tanks. I mean, they were a great tank when they came out. They were almost impervious, but the anti-tank weapons now are just way too more. They're too powerful. So now they have the reactive armor is made out of depleted uranium, but they don't have active armor. They only have reactive armor, and that means you have to be hit before it blows off. And they're upgrading all the basically M113 variants. There's like 11 different variants there, including the variants of what's called Bradley tanks, basically APCs. So all these things are getting new armored plating, that type of thing. So far, there's been over 12,000 assassination tweets on, I guess on Twitter. This would have been happening under Obama, the amount of people that would be in jail right now it'd be funny. Wouldn't be funny. Okay, Trump and Trump's sending troops to the Mexican border to get the bad hombres. This is again a bit of a fake news story from the mainstream media. What Trump was talking about was helping if Mexico needed help, they could send their guys to go get the bad, the cartels and stuff like that to help crack down on the cartels and stuff. So it was the Mexican president said, no, Trump didn't say that. It's kind of a weird thing going on right now. Bill Holter, is it Bill Holter? Saying there's going to be like year of the truth bombs. And I think so. And it's kind of a dysphoria for people. And I noticed there's a mellowing. Maybe you're noticing it on your Facebook or not, but the pro-Trump, anti-Trump, pro-Trump, anti-Trump. But I'm noticing a mellowing on both sides in the past couple of days because people are starting to catch on that we don't know what stories are real or not anymore. Like, we can't trust the mainstream media. We just can't trust them at all because every time an anti-Trumper comes out with a fake story, they look like an asshole. Every time a pro-Trumper comes out, they look like an asshole, which is good because it keeps the radicals at bay. So this is an excellent opportunity, I find, to plant seeds. I mean, people are going to be partisan or whatever, whatever. I'm not there to try to change their mind. But at least look at the facts. At least look at the facts. And everybody's going to get it wrong. I get it wrong quite often too, but I get it right a lot of times too. That type of thing. And I usually try to correct whatever I miss if I do miss something. That's why I always tell you guys, if I miss something, let me know. We're a team, right? So, but yeah. So the thing is the reactionary, blow it out of proportion method of the mainstream media is really going against them. Like they're not going to be. They're going to be defunded. Like CNN, Time Warner was going to buy CNN, and they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, this might be a bad investment." And good riddance to them. And apparently, another mainstream media lie, where Trump and the Australian Prime Minister talked. And they said, oh, well, Trump hung up on, it was a heated debate, and Trump hung up on the Australian Prime Minister. Not true. Not true at all. Basically, they had a conversation. The Australian Prime Minister said, no, it went well. It was a business-like, and again, when you're dealing with Trump, it's like a business meeting all the time. I mean, just look at the way he conducts everything. It's like a business meeting. So he said, no, it went well. So, again, makes the mainstream media look back. Now, mind you, Trump is playing a tactic. It's an awesome tactic, and I've seen the Russians play this tactic too, where they put out, they indicate that they're going to do something, and they get the media all hyped up, and then they do the absolute opposite to make the media look back. Look, you lose out of proportion for nothing. And that's how Trump, he'll say this, lead the media up, and get them all riled up, and then bang, do the total opposite, making the mainstream media look like a bunch of ass clowns. But they are. This one's a big one. Christina, what was it? Christina Francesco? No, that wasn't the name anyway. I wrote down the wrong last name. Anyway, this lady at the United Nations talking about climate change and global warming. And she says, this is coming from the United Nations, this is, again, it is a hoax to destroy capitalism. How communist is that? And I think people are starting to catch on this global warming, global cooling, climate change thing is a scam. She was out there and pretty much saying, no, what it's really about is depopulation and to destroy capitalism. So in other words, it's a lie. And you can clearly see it. I mean, it's like, yeah, no one just got caught lying. That's Rothschild own. The UN is basically a Rockefeller invention. And one of the leading founders of the climate hoax is basically Maurice Stroud. He died a couple years ago. Good riddance. And he was in it with Al Gore. And Al Gore is going to be the something true, with the inconvenient truth 2.0 or whatever. Like the first one was completely wrong. In Britain, they basically said there was like 9 misrepresented or, basically lies in that movie. But yet they indoctrinated the kids with it anyway. And now you've got all these millennials that think we're going to die in 12 years because of the global warming, global cooling, or global whatever. But if you're actually following the real science of not what they're saying, not their climate models. Their climate models, I mean, just judge them against what's really happening. They're completely out of whack. But people have taken it like a religion. Now, I'm not saying there isn't lies on both sides of the aisle. I think there's, it seems like people have to go from one extreme to the other. Yes, I do believe we're going into a cooling trend. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have an ice age, but this could set us up for an ice age. At some point, we're going to have an ice age again. It's just when. The last major ice age, according to the core samples, ice core samples, only came in 3 years, and it stayed for 10,000. I think it talked about overstay your welcome. And then you had that major ice age, which was about 10,000 years, and the one before that I think was 25,000 years, and then, or vice versa. And then in the 1700s, you had that little mini ice age and stuff like that. And in the 1400s, you had like they were growing tomatoes in Greenland in December, you know what I mean, that type of thing. So it just, again, and I'm going to be doing other videos on that too, just as a separate issue. Congress wants to Congress wants to see the global warming evidence that the UN is always talking about, and the UN will not. They won't produce it because the science is settled. Well, clearly it's not. Nikki Haley on Ukraine. This is the new ambassador. So she'll be, basically replacing Victoria Nuland. Ukraine starts operations. Lindsey Graham and John McCain were there, saying the year of the offensive. These two guys. Well, number one, I can't say much about Lindsey Graham other than he's an asshole. He's a loudmouth asshole and wants war with Russia. This guy frogs the mouth, going to war with Russia. John McCain, however, is a war criminal. He is a terrorist. He is armed terrorist. He is a terrorist, and he needs to go to jail, big time. But the Nikki Haley was. I don't know if she's going to be any better than Samantha Powers was, or Victoria Nuland. Kind of like we're sad that we have to come here and because of what Russia did and da. So I don't know, but again, what we're seeing, and I think this is what, again, Trump has dropped that firecracker down the groundhog hole to see who's going to be loyal to him, and there is a bit of a purge of the system, which is good. So you're seeing these people who basically they come out against the Trump position, and Trump just hammers them, and either they'll quit or he'll fire them, which is good. I like the idea that he can fire people. So we'll have to see what happens with Ukraine. But there's John McCain and Lindsey Graham stoking up war in the Ukraine, and of course you have the Ukraine of, shelling in the Donetsk area against the DPR, whatever. And it's indiscriminate shelling. It's like they're hitting houses, they're hitting whoever. They're hitting Ukrainians. You know what I mean? Like they're hitting Russians and Ukrainians, but they're hitting Ukrainians too. And it's very, very sad. The thing is that it's pretty much turned into like a North Korea, South Korea. Just like I said, I think it was the day after the Maidan overthrow, which again, this is a George Soros-funded coup. He armed neo-Nazis to overthrow the legitimate government in Ukraine. And when they did that, the Russians counter-couped. I mean, they saw it coming a mile away, that type of thing. U.S. ships to the Black Sea, and the Operation Sea Shield led by Romania. So that's going on. That's coming up. Destroyer off the coast of Yemen is the USS Cole. And the Yemenis are saying that the U.S. has done strikes from the warships into Yemen, but there's no confirmation on that. The U.S. said that they said that the U.S. fired a missile at Yemen, so I don't know exactly what was hit or whatever. Okay, Al Qaeda. There's that U.S. soldiers, the Navy SEAL team that went in they're saying that this is a Trump thing. Everything from now on is going to be Trump. You can't blame Obama anymore, really. But they said that they were tipped off. Al Qaeda or ISIS was tipped off, basically in this before the SEALs went in. And it does look like that's happening. It does looks like there's a cleanup crew going around right now. Because I can imagine Trump is being let in on a lot of things. But anything he's not let in on and he catches, I mean, he's going to crucify people for this. So basically we have U.S. helicopters dropping more weapons and extracting people from ISIS-led held areas and Al-Qaeda held areas. This has been going on for pretty much since Trump's inauguration, and there's like the third or fourth incident that's been talked about, that type of thing. Now the Houthis, I don't know if you saw the footage or not, but it's out there. They basically whacked a freaking Saudi ship. It was one of their frigates or missile frigates, and they got a good hit on it. I don't know what they hit it with, an anti-tank. It must have been like a captured tow missile or something. I don't think the ship was sunk, but there was a lot of smoke coming from that ship. That killed a bunch of people. There's no doubt about that. So again, these ragtag farmers are really kicking the crap out of the Saudis. That's for sure. EU is to ban Trump's pick, delegate, whatever. There's a thing, the anti-globalism, the Davos man is dead. That's out there. Alex Jones was talking about it. A few other people were talking about it. And this is coming from the Trump's guy picked for the EU. So obviously the EU is not very, those pundits aren't very happy with that at all. Oh well, too bad for them. And if you haven't seen the one of the EU guys out there basically talking, oh no, the EU is fine. People are going to be joining. It's like, what freaking planet does this guy live on? No. the global cooling light pillars, if you guys, I seen some the other morning myself. They were very, very faint, but they're showing up all over the place. They're showing up Norway, Russia, here, all over, you know. And what they are is it has to do with the magnetic pole reversing. And when it reverses, you see these things. And they're kind of like northern lights, but instead of in the sky, they're kind of like from the ground up. It's kind of a weird thing. They're all kind of colors. They're really pretty. But when you understand what's happening, it's kind of like, oh, okay, that's like razzle, you know, that's like a snake charmer type of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's yeah. So this is, and I already covered the pole shift thing in a previous video there not too long ago. So just go check that out. Yeah. So silver to be so valuable by the year 2020. This comes from Cliff High. Because they want to use silver in high tech. So if there was a time to invest in silver, probably now is the time to do it. Get it while it's cheap. But silver is probably one of the most manipulated metals on the planet, even next to gold. And it's really being held back. They say it should be about 600 an ounce. I don't know what it's going for today. I didn't catch it on the what it was going gold and silver at, but they're up there. Again, I got some videos coming out in a couple of days about some of my gold and, well, I don't have any gold, but silver, my silver stuff. And I'm going to be starting to cover that angle a bit. Yes, I am more of a bread and bullets, guys, especially if we're seeing all these crop failures that we're seeing around the world right now because of the cold. The amount of, Italy got whacked by a big thing of snow, and it's these flash colds, like these flash frosts type of thing that are moving around. And it's like you grow a garden, and it takes 16 weeks to grow an edible garden, typically, depending on what you're growing. Some stuff a little longer. Like hot peppers might take like 120 days. That's like basically 4 months to grow. That's why, here in Canada, if we're going to have shorter growing seasons, we're going to have to think of outside the box of how to grow food in the future. Especially if it's going to get colder by 20. They're talking about, if you want to follow a guy, he's more on the global cooling side of things, Adapt 2030. And he's basically shows you where all the cooling stuff that they won't talk about on the mainstream media. However, he only talks about the cooling stuff. He doesn't talk about the warming stuff. And there's a bit of a give and take. So some areas you're going to have more cooling, but in other areas you're going to have more drought and stuff like that. And this is going to definitely wreak havoc on the food shortage source. And by most science are agreeing that, yes, we're going to be cooling down by 2030. And as we're cooling down, it might even go to 2065. So I'll be dead and gone before I see the sunshine again, that type of thing, you know what I mean? Doesn't mean necessarily an ice age, but, in some areas it could be longer than normal winters, meaning shorter things. And when you get longer than normal winters in the northern hemisphere, usually in the southern hemisphere, you get droughts. And they're predicting that India could see like a decade or two of like severe drought, which, that'll depopulate. So they're going to have to innovate on how they grow their food, stuff like that. And for us, it's the cold. We'll have to innovate how we grow the food. So I think hydroponics will be the future, that type of thing. So invest in gold, invest in silver, invest in seeds, and then boats to protect all that stuff, that type of thing. So the high tech, the silver, they really need it for the electronics, particularly in the military stuff. And with all the military technology that's coming out, it's very advanced. The F-35 is like kind of over advanced, and it's a piece of shit. It doesn't work right. It has like something like 240 defects on it. The F-15 had problems. The F-16 had problems. The F-18 had problems, sure, but they worked those problems out in a reasonable amount of time. And with the F-16, what the problem was is there was a wire that would pinch and screw up the gyro, and a pilot would go through the clouds. The gyro would be upside down, and he'd be thinking he's right side up. And then, then you'd get a ground warning, and he'd pull up instead of, push down, because he wouldn't realize he was upside down, and a few pilots died doing this. So, once they figured out what it was, they fixed it. And then, other than that, the F-16 has had a pretty good maintenance record. F-18, CF-18s, they got a pretty good maintenance record. There's some design flaws on them. Again, that's normal. F-15, that type of thing. But there was an Israeli F-15. What did it hit? I can't remember what it hit. I don't know if it was a training exercise gone wrong or if it was actually in combat. But anyway, it ripped off an entire wing. Okay, this is an analog airplane. Okay, this is a hydraulic. This is not a fly-by-wire airplane. This is hydraulics, old school. Bell cranks and hydraulics. You know what I mean? That type of thing. No bell cranks, but you get the idea. Hydraulic. and that airplane was able to be flown back. And that, when I saw that, I mean, that sold me on the F-15 right away. I mean, that's a survivable airplane. The A-10, same thing. Half the wings blown to bits. The A-10, okay, put better radar jamming and slightly more powerful, more fuel-efficient engine in it. If you can make the thing a little bit lighter, fine. Double up on your armor. The thing's a flying tank. It works. It doesn't have to be stealthy. You know, I would take an A-10 over an F-35 any day. Probably even in a dogfight. You know, sure, you're not going to get up high with the A-10, but nothing's going to outturn you at low level. You know what I mean? Like, it's that type of thing. And you could put all that technology in there. It'll fit. But anyway, yeah. So the silver might be so valuable by 2022 for the technology purposes that even though it might be good for investment, it'll be almost too valuable to waste as investment because people will be like, wow, we're going to build this gadget, it's really neat type of thing. So the way Cliff I was explaining it, and he says some of that technology that we're going to be investing in, and Donald Trump's even hinting at this. Again, Antarctica is I'm still on the radar of Antarctica. I think a lot of people are. There's something there. They're basically, in Trump's inauguration speech, it's only after that we're probably going to realize it, but he talked about going to the moon or going to space and opening up vast wealth of resources. Are they talking about Antarctica? Apparently there's mountains of coal there that are just uncovered. Like you basically just take a shovel. It's kind of like how oil used to just be, you just mop it up with buckets on the ground. Well, if we're talking energy like that, that's one thing. But if we're talking an lost ancient civilization and other things, again, we don't know what's coming down the pipe. But according to Cliff High, some of the stuff will be released starting in 2017. And he basically puts it like what I've always called like the factions fighting. You have like the Rothschild Empire and all these New World Order types and Illuminati, corrupt politicians, oligarchs, whatever you want to call them, and they want to keep all the technology from people. They want to hide everything from everybody, and they want to control everybody. And then the Trump side, the good guys, might be more, again, it doesn't mean they're going to necessarily win in the long run, but they're basically unseating the power, and they want to give everything to everybody. Not give, but they want to, they want everybody to prosper. So it's a completely different mindset, and I like the latter. So if that's the case, gold and silver might be something to get into now. Bluish-green meteor in the Midwest. I don't know if you guys seen that thing. I didn't hear the girl going, oh, what the? But apparently it's quite funny. She turned on her camera to do a Snapchat, and bang, out comes this blue-green meteor. I forget what blue-green meteor, if that's iron and something else. Because if you get a yellow meteor, it's something else. If it's a blue meteor or a green meteor, it's something else. It's like zinc and iron or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, very mineral rich. But there's been an awful lot of asteroid and meteor activity in the past couple of weeks. And it seems like every other week NASA's talking about an asteroid that they didn't see coming. Now, did they not see this thing coming and just say, oh, wow, it's passing between us and the moon. We never saw it. Oh, no. Or they were like, is it going to hit us or not? Let's not tell them. That's what I hate about these things. It's like, what? Just tell people. If there's a big space rock coming at us and we don't have a lot of time, at least give us a chance to say bye to our loved ones. You know what I mean? Like, why do they have to be such... Oh, well, people will panic and they'll be panicking in the streets. You tell people 2 months in advance they're not going to be panicking in the streets. They'll be like, oh, crap, whatever. That type of thing. Give people a chance to prepare. And if there is panic in the streets, well, it doesn't matter. The people panicking in the streets are going to die. You're going to have to prepare. Soros has 12 lawsuits against the Trump administration. He's kind of helped funding those lawsuits. And James Wood, the actor, I think he's, all the crazy stuff we're seeing right now. And I think Soros' days are numbered. I truly believe that. They're going to kill him by the end of the year. James Wood comes out, the actor James Wood. And he's a truther. I like James Wood. He's out there saying, I could sum up in just 2 words what the problem, all the chaos of problems we're seeing for the Trump administration is. George Soros. # George Soros for prison. Yes. Now, the nice thing about what's going on is people are starting to learn who George Soros is. I was having a lunch with a friend I hadn't seen in a while the other day. She was like, who's this guy you're always talking about that he's so evil? It's George Soros. Oh, okay. So, that type of thing. And that's good because now people are starting to go, well, who is this freaking George Soros? And I think that's why you're starting to see that every time you see a radical push out there, wherever George Soros money goes, death and destruction follows. So, yeah. About 70,000 new jobs were created in the States. I don't know what kind of jobs these were, but there's still tons and tons and tons of layoffs. I don't know if it's balancing yet. But if so, that means the recession will be will be basically over under Trump. I think what Trump is trying to do, I still think he's going to hit that reset button. Now, my stance has always been no economic collapse until war comes. But the thing is that Hillary Clinton failed. Now, did Trump win by accident? Who knows? Maybe. I think Trump won in a landslide. And if that is the case, I mean, all these recounts that are coming back, they come back and Hillary Clinton loses that area every time. They find like areas where Clinton was voted for like 5 times by the same person, that type of thing, and voting fraud. And I think the whole thing is, Bill Holter was talking about it, was what Trump's doing is setting himself up for 2020, is wrangle the voter fraud now, and then in 2020 it'll just be a landslide for both electoral college, and like they'll just be, like there's nobody to run against Trump right now. Trump is going to turn into a Putin. He's going to be irreplaceable at the rate he's going. I mean, the people that, it's like Stalin or Mussolini, love him or hate him. And I know a lot of people don't like me comparing him to Mussolini. Somebody else suggests that he's more like Mussolini, and I was like, now that you mention it, yeah, you're right, he's more like Mussolini. Not identical to Mussolini, but in mannerism, in the climate, there's a lot of similarities, to him and Mussolini, and love him or hate him, like that type of thing. Believe it or not, Obama had more similarities to Hitler, not Stalin or anything like that. At first I was comparing Trump to Stalin, because of his, iron fist kind of tactics, but I think he's more like a Mussolini when you come down to it. And again, I know you'll find, why Mussolini did this, Trump's doing that, Yes, there's true, but there's a lot of mannerisms that are similar. But these 70,000 jobs, so I think what Trump is going to do is try to get the economy going, the mom and pop shops going. Here in Canada, for example, over 100,000, 100,000. Over 10 million of our employers are small business. That's what I mean. If you want a strong country from within, we're 36 million. So at least of all the businesses out there, it should be 2/3 at least, and then you'll have a strong economy. You'll be less dampened by the global markets. The global markets, and unfortunately here in Canada, whether you're talking the Conservative Party or you're talking the Liberals or the NDP, they want to give everything away to globalism. TPP, TPIP, TTIP, the CETA, and all that. These things are not good for Canada. They might have some benefits, but in the long run, like NAFTA, the reason why we don't have a strong manufacturing or anything in Canada anymore is because we gave it away during NAFTA, and we're gonna have to revisit that. We're gonna have to, but until we get a nationalist government, and now's the time, people. Now's the time. Now, I hope you guys, I don't know if you caught the story, over 400 arrested in the pedophile ring in California. And there's a rumor out there that there's been 70 warrants issued for Pizzagate. God, I hope this is true. Yeah. James Chavez. He's an oversight committee guy for the, the Trump administration and everything like that. And he was talking to Trump, and this kind of tells you the conscience that Trump kind of might have, that he's got nothing to hide. He told the guy, he says, whatever it is you find, he says, I got a job to do, you got a job to do. He says, there's no avenue that you can't go down. He says, go after everything. Just whatever you find, you find. And that is a way of draining the swamp. So that's a good thing. And the James Chavez guy he was very encouraged by that and very happy to hear that from. Now, mind you, you can say that now. They all say that, but this was a behind closed doors conversation, and he's basically telling him, do your job. You have to do your job. You dig, you find the dirt. So again, Trump is signaling that he is the good guy, but I think we're going to take wins and losses with Trump. My biggest fears are his stance on Iran and his stance on China. Yeah. Now, this one does worry about Trump to repeal the Dodd-Frank Act, which I don't know everything about the Dodd-Frank Act, but this could lead to more Goldman. Again, that's going to help out Goldman Sachs and all those guys. So I'm not for that. But then again, wins and losses, right? Well, all I'd like to see Trump do is get rid of too big to fail and just arrest the world elites that he can, But again, I think this stuff's going to take time, I know we're all impatient, The U.S. response to North Korea, it was basically Mad Dog Mathis out there saying, well, if North Korea fires a nuke, it'll be kind of the end of them. We'll have a full response there. That'll be it. So Kim Jong-un is, he's doing what he's doing. The Iranians, yes, they're testing the Trump administration too and firing off missiles and stuff like that. And they have every right to. I mean, they're in their own country. They're not harming anybody else. They have a right to do it. Now, something Theresa May, I don't know what to make of her yet, but so far she said something really good about Brexit. Kind of like, okay, we're not going to just do stall tactics, and we're going to honor the people. Now, like anything, if she's in the same position as Trump, she has everybody working against her. Theresa May, for those who don't know, is the Prime Minister of the UK. But she was also talking about how, it's no longer, Britain was always a part of regime change policy of the United States. So wherever the United States does regime change for Israel, pretty much it's the Greater Israel Project. That's why it's always in the Middle East. That's why you don't see the United States going into Timbuktu or someplace like that, or as many other countries as the Middle East, because Israel wants they want the United States to clear the Middle East for them. They do go into African countries and stuff like that, but not as predominantly. I mean, like, how many dictators in Africa could the United States use regime change on? North Korea, you know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. They don't do it because they go where Israel wants you to go. And where the United States goes, Britain goes, or the UK goes. And so Theresa May was out there saying that the regime change policy has come to an end. It's basically, we're not going to do that anymore. Now, this also kind of lays the groundwork, and again, Trump is kind of showing that he's willing to work with Assad. He's willing, and that's who he needs to work with. The Syrian Arab Army is the best setup to take out the ISIS guys. They know the terrain, they know the people, they know the culture, they know who's Syrian, who's not. They're the best. You don't even have to send another U.S. soldier there at all. Just, what do you guys need? What do you guys need? You want surveillance? Okay, we'll give you some surveillance. What do you guys need? We'll help you. They'll clear them out in no time. So we got the U.S. and the UK now sort of ready and a little bit open to the idea. Although the UK is a lot more skittish on the Russians, they're willing to end ISIS. They're willing to do that. The easiest way is, number one, stop funding them. Now, this is where the Israeli lobby, again, Trump is a little too pro-Israel for my liking, but on the other hand, maybe he can play the Israeli lobby too. We'll see. So we'll have to see what happens, but anyway, it does look like they're willing to work with Assad, they're willing to work with Russia, and that type of thing. Now, that said, I think there's going to be a re-examining of these policies that led us into these phony wars, and that will be bad for Obama, that will be bad for, Cameron, all those people. Again, those people, they're war criminals. John McCain, these are war criminals. Henry Kissinger, war criminal. Zbigniew Brzezinski, George Soros, the crimes against humanity, these are war criminals. They set all this stuff up in the name of national security or national interest, stuff like that. It's no. In my 2017, prediction, I said we might see a Swedish freakout berserker by the end of 2017. Well, Swedes are in the droves are learning how to use firearms. Yeah. They're fed up. They're going to snap at some point. This comes back to here in Quebec. I think we're going to start seeing more of these attacks on mosques and stuff like that. I think people are to the point of insolvency. I'm not calling for the violence, but again, if you don't see it coming, I don't know what to tell you. I said in Europe, within 2 to 4 years, I've been saying 3 to 5 years, but now it looks more like 2 to 4 years, there's going to be a major cultural clash of the 10th Crusade, as I call it. I do believe you'll probably see the first Crusade battles. They'll be small scale, like maybe 20 guys on 20 guys or whatever, and you'll have dead bodies on both sides. And you'll probably see that first in, France or Germany. And really, depending on how the elections go, depends on whether you're going to see a civil war out of that or not. I think you're going to have a civil war anyway, because if Le Pen wins in France, well, you're going to have, the Muslims are going to riot there in the no-go zones. And if Angela Merkel wins in Germany, well, you're just going to have a civil war, and there'll be an ethnic cleansing like you wouldn't believe, and then possibly a war with Turkey later on. That said, Sweden, I think they're just going to snap and go berserker. After, there's only so many more, these, Malmo riots that they're going to be able to take. It's just, maybe the Sweden Democrats. I don't know. I know I have some Swedish watch. If you're in France, Germany or Sweden, just let everybody know when your election is your final election is due. I know there's like France has like a kind of like a pre-election election. It's kind of weird. France politics I'm not 100% on, so same with the Swedes or the Germans. But just let us know what your new emperor date is, so to speak, and whatever. But yeah, there's still a lot of Germans that are pro-Merkel. Like, I mean, the brainwashing is that deep. Like, I'm just like, that's unbelievable. Now, that said, I don't anticipate you'll see the 10th Crusade kick off in Canada. However, again, it is a possibility. Remember, Canada, we're way behind the curve, but we're, kind of watching what's going on around the world, and we might be more preemptive. Because even though we're not there yet, like, again, Canada, I was predicting our culture clash be 8 to 10 years out because, like 30% of our population is no longer Canadian. It's immigrants. It's all immigrants, right? That type of thing. Maybe not all immigrants, but, we're bringing in 250,000 a year now, 300,000 a year, soon to be 500,000 people a year. It's not sustainable. We will experience a culture clash. I figured it'd be 8 to 10 years out. But with what's happened in Quebec, again, I want to hear the motive from the police saying the guy did this for this reason, this reason. If it was a non-reason, like say, well, not a non-reason, but a reason, say, along the lines of it was a drug deal gone bad, or the professor that, gave the guy a D when he should have got an A or something like that, and it was like basically a nut job. Well, I mean, again, the crazies will always snappers. If it's that, then it's okay. False alarm, don't worry about it. But if it's a build-up on all, like, for example, we've got soldiers voting across the country now. They were just out west, now they're here in Quebec. We have a new nationalist group coming up in Quebec that is trying to get political, but they're national sovereign. They're not the Bloc Québécois sovereigntist types. They're in there. That'll be probably a core of them. But they're basically nationalist, anti-Islamic. Canadian values kind of thing, or more Quebecer values, whichever. And these guys, they're already starting to get funding. They're not a political party yet. That's why I said we got to get ahead of that as a national, federalist nationalist, not sovereigntist nationalist for Quebec, but federalist nationalist, and get everybody included from, St. John's all the way out to Vancouver Island. You know what I mean? Like we need everybody in between on this one. Talking to a person behind the scenes, I won't give away too much. I haven't met this person yet or whatever, but they were talking about, yeah, Red, you're interested in starting a nationalist party in Canada? Yes, I am very interested in starting. Time is of the essence. We have about 2 years to pull this off. We need 270 signatures to be a nationalist, or a political party in Canada, and to register. But we need funding. The lady I'm looking at that would probably be best in the driver's seat would be Kelly Leitch. I don't think she's going to make the party leader of the Conservatives. However, if she is, this lady could buy us time if she could win the election in 2020. Her stance on immigration is not to cut off immigration like mine, but basically to vet people, so mass reduction in immigration. But we're talking, we have to reduce it. We don't need any more immigration. Our demographics, again, you change the demographics, you change the culture. That's going to happen by 2036, where more than half the country will be foreign-born. Or children of immigrants, which one of the things about mass immigration, Rocking Mystery, pretty much, the multiculturalism agenda. It's not really about multiculturalism. It's about destroying nationalism and sovereignty and stuff like that, and flooding people in from places in the world where they don't fight for democracy and freedom and stuff like that. That type of thing. It's European values that, sure in the past, I mean, everybody's hands are bloody on this one, but it's European culture and European values that fought for freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of this, freedom of that. It's not Asian countries. It's not African countries. They don't fight for that stuff as a country, as a group. Maybe individually, yes, but as a group, no. And the world elites know this, so they know that they can get away with a lot more because the people will just go along. But the Europeans don't go along with this. And that's why, they're too expensive to have in labor. They demand too much. They demand too many rights, etc., etc. I'm not trying to put people on Europeans on a pedestal, but that is European culture, is rule of law. So that's why the world elites, they don't like this. These Zionist types, neocon types don't like this. So that's why they want to get rid of us. You know what I mean? So the best way to reverse this, again, if we were to cut off immigration today, you could say Canada, the people that are in here now that have come in, they could have a chance to integrate. 3 generations down, their kids would be fully integrated, and I'd have no problem with that whatsoever. They'd be as Canadian as maple syrup and bacon. You know what I mean? Like, they'd be super, super Canadian. And that would make a very stable society. That said, we're not doing that. You know, we're giving away our values. According to Justin Trudeau, we don't have an identity. Like, I mean, like that's us old stock Canadians. Yeah, you're telling me I don't know my history. And the thing is Trudeau knows his history. He probably even knows history better than I do of Canada. I mean, you know, considering, you know, the acts, you know, like he basically enveloped in his entire life, right? So there's things I've probably forgotten that he knows. So he knows what the history of Canada is, but yet he chooses to ignore it. And people are picking up on this. You know, a lot of people are picking up on the idea that we're doing more for the refugees than we're doing for our retirees and our veterans, and our medical system is starting to go down the tubes. It's not sustainable. And if that is the case, you could see hypernationalism and actual, I wouldn't say neo-Nazis rising in Canada. There's really not that many of them here. They're here, but there's not that many of them here. But you could see a big thing like that. My fear here in Quebec is that if you get a hyper-nationalist party start up, that could rile up the natives, and then you could have kind of like a French-Indian Wars 2.0, only this time the natives would be against the French instead of working with the French, right? But there was, the natives and the French, they've been at war quite a bit of times throughout our history too. So when you're looking at it like that, it's like, okay, well, we need a nationalist party that's a Canada First party across the country. Now there is a Canadian Nationalist Party of Canada, but the problem with them is they're too 1933 Germany. Like they're too Nazi, and there's too many people that their grandfathers died fighting Nazis. They're never going to go for it here in Canada. So that's not the angle you should be taking it at. Now, mind you, if I've had one of the guys in it. It's already established, but the thing is they have to rebrand it, and the problem is they have to. You have to do away with the entire party itself, but you could use the organization from that party to create a new one, a Canada First party that's basically not going to go after people in a personal attack kind of way. Like that's the problem. You can't do it like that. You'll just lose everybody. You have to go on it from, if you want to see benefits in your country again for your people, you have to do this. If you don't want to go to war in the Ukraine, we have to become non-interventionists like Switzerland. If you like the idea of democracy, direct democracy like Switzerland is a great idea. Maybe not the best idea, but it's a good idea. We should have a republic-based value system so that the globalists can't just come in and destroy our infrastructure and jobs and our economy and all that like they've done. Fair trade system versus a free trade system. I'm not for free trade because it just racing the dollar to buy the cheapest stuff from the lowest bidder. Well, we're there. This is what the world looks like in a free trade system. It has benefits to the elites at the top, but a fair trade system would benefit the mom and pop shops. It would benefit everybody, including the people at the top too. It's a much more honest system. It sets higher standards and rules for the environment. Makes it less likely for us to get into war with a more stable economy. Is it a proven theory? No, because it's still a theory, but it's pretty simple. Velocity of money. If you get the money into people's hands, I don't know what that was at the door, but anyway, then people will start spending again. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for now. I don't know what else I could really say. That's just kind of what's going on. So there's lots going on, like always. We'll have to watch Trump and Rex Tillerson and Mad Dog Mathis and all them, what they're going to do and how they're going to, because they do tend to be kind of aggressive. But again, Trump's policy is to be from a position of strength when it comes to the military stuff. So China and Iran is the big ones. What the U.S. is going to do about the Houthis, I don't know. But again, we're seeing. We're seeing kind of a bit of everything's happening, but nothing's happening. So I think, because within the 30 days, like right now, the big thing is the Muslim ban, but it's not the Muslim. What the heck happened to the... Is that a mouse? Or that probably was Gazoo. Gazoo! You little arsehole. He does that from time. He just gets paper and rips it. That's why I never leave like money on the table or like that. He does that. My cat did that. He preemptive striked my paper towel roll. Look what he did. Look what he did. I know it was him. That definitely was him. Yeah. It has his signature on it. The impressive part is not that he did that. The impressive part is that fat little bastard got up there. Like, allow me to demonstrate before. Sorry, I know the world blowing up with nukes and stuff is important, but you got to see this. This is important. Look at the size of him. Okay, and we found out what you just did. We saw what you did. Eh? That your liking? All right, so you want to take out the show? All right. So, hi, my name is Kazoo. If you like this kind of content, please give me a cat treat, and or I'll chew up your paper towels. And basically, if you like this kind of content, make a donation to the channel. Links are down below. Thank you so much to everybody who has, so we can buy me more cat treats. Next that, rate, subscribe, share, comment, like. Be true to yourself. Be true to others. Always do the right thing, and have yourselves a great cat day, eh? Yeah. G'day, hi, and welcome. All right, WW3 update. And I'm going to put my camera somewhere. Anyway, check out my hat. There we go. All right. I'm going to start here. What crap? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. About a day or so after the attack here in Quebec, so shakers so you can see the camera. There was an attack in France on a French soldier, a guy, basically machete-wielded maniac. They think they shot him dead. That was in front of the Louvre. So there was that. And I still don't know all the story. The story seemed to have went away of the shooting. Like, for what has happened in Quebec here, it's gone. Like, the story's gone. It's a non-story now. Technically, you've had the mass killing of Muslims, the most in Canadian history, in a single spot, and they're not running it into the ground. So there's something weird about the way this thing was covered, and I have a hunch why they're not covering to the fullest is because if it was what they say it is, like it was a nationalist hit, so to speak, they don't want to encourage others to do it, and although it's in the closet, kind of, so to speak, there's a rumblings of nationalism rising in Canada. Mainstream media doesn't want to touch it. They don't want to draw attention to it at all. Trudeau is worried about this. I remember he said something that we haven't had the anti-globalism, that didn't hit us yet. and trying to pass off as people really want that, but they don't. They really don't. And I guess they're trying to let sleeping dogs lie, but I don't think it's going to work in the long run. But anyway, but until I get again, the police haven't said what the motive was yet. So until they say what the motive is, then I don't want to comment on it. I don't care if it takes a month. I'm not going to comment on it until I know more. 49 to 41% are in favor of Trump's ban. Now, polls again being notorious unreliable, whether they're for or something. But apparently with this poll, I forget who conducted it, but they oversampled again, even like Democrats. They always oversample the Democrats to get them to go to the leftists, and even at that, it still came out in favor of the travel ban. So what's the real number? Who knows? Utah is basically going to be taking gold and silver and making it a legal currency. So it looks like Utah is getting prepared for something that might be coming down the pipe. New sanctions on Iran. Trump's added little caveat: I'm not going to be kind like Obama was. Or Obama was kind, but not like me, or something like that. It was something paraphrasing here, but so the Iran again. My worry with Trump is that the whole Trump win was about Israel getting just a different way to attack Iran. I hope that's not the case. I don't know. I don't know. But considering who's surrounding Trump, it's all pretty much the Zionist core, Steins and Bergs. I mean, you can't ignore it. So there's a risk of that they might try to, or maybe he's doing it willingly, who knows. But if he's going to do a deal with Iran, do a deal with Iran. That's fine. You want to be tough on it, be tough on it. But to take us to another war, well, it's just, okay, new boss, same as the old boss. Because Iran was supposed to be taken out by Israel after the United States took out Syria. And right now, Syria technically, I mean, it's in rules. The Syrian army won't be able to take out Israel anytime soon. They're in shambles right now. That said, if, with the help of Iran, if the United States can get into a war with Iran now, then it's mission accomplished on taking out all 7 countries or 5 countries in 7 years, or 7 countries in 5 years, whatever it was Rumsfeld's said. So as of now, we're still, everything is still, nothing is reversed. Now, mind you, Trump is less than a month in his presidency, so, well, we can't expect, he's moving faster than lightning, grease lightning. He's moving faster than grease lightning that just took a bottle of X-Lax. He's moving that fast, So we can't say, oh, well, he's failed. He's only a month in, And even the 100 days in office, okay, well, 100 days, that's not enough to undo 8 years of extreme damage and another 8 years before that of damage. You're talking 16 years of extreme damage done to the United States through Bush's and Obama's, and then, of course, with Clinton's. And if you really add it up, it's about 70 years, basically since World War II, of basically that narrative that was been put in heavily after World War II, the Cultural Revolution and all that, all the Kissinger stuff, and that's going to take time to undo. You're not going to undo that overnight. You're not going to undo that without a bloody nose. So, but we can only judge Trump on his actions. Again, I'm still neutral on Trump. I still am. I think he wants to be a good guy, but it really will depend on the system. However, the system, one thing Trump is doing is anybody that goes against him, he's calling them out, which is the right thing to do. But with the stuff he's privy to, now mind you, maybe he's going to reveal stuff over time. You get a bit of a mixed bag because, like, when it comes to the Israel thing, that's the key. Like, every country in the world needs to tell Israel, go your own way. We're not going to defend you anymore. Play well in the sandbox with others. If you want to defend yourself, that's fine. But this idea of constantly going into preemptive wars for Israel, that's not a good idea. Now, one thing, and I'll get to it later, is the regime change angle. That does seem to be changing, and that's a good thing. But we'll have to wait and see. U.S. destroyer off the coast of Yemen, and I think the Yemen is one of those things that I think Trump is looking at Yemen kind of as secondary to Iran. He hasn't really said his stance on it 100%, but because if they come out against Yemen, that really looks, okay, well, we're going to do whatever the Saudis want us to do. But there's still weapons going to the Saudis. There's still all that stuff. I think if anything, what they're getting out of the Saudis is, okay, how do we need to upgrade our tanks? And it looks like the Abrams M1A2 tanks are getting new armor plating. They're going to need it. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in the previous Abrams tanks. I mean, they were a great tank when they came out. They were almost impervious, but the anti-tank weapons now are just way